Welcome to the Spiritual Bible. My name is Lisetta, and I talk about things that you probably won't talk about in church. And today I want to talk about sin and about being a sinner according to Christianity. The word sin has been used to control us and also to shame us, to separate us, and to scare people away from themselves, but also scare people away from God. I grew up in church, so I don't know anything better that I am a sinner, that I am a bad person, and that I need saving, I need salvation from something outside myself. And that is where Jesus comes into play, and he is the only one who can save me from being this sinner. And after I left the church at age 35, I started to see everything different. And also this thing that I am a sinner, it means something completely different for me now. And although it means something different, I know it in my head and the words are different, I still feel in my body that it takes such a long time and a long journey to decondition from hearing that I am a sinner and that I am bad and that I'm separate from God and that I need salvation. It is something that is told so many times that I really believed this is my essence. I am bad. So although my head now thinks differently, I still feel that it's not something that's instantly out of my body and out of my system. But what I see now is that I am not a sinner. And the word sin, it comes from the Greek word hamartia. And that word doesn't mean you are bad or you are evil. It doesn't mean you are a sinner, you are cut off from God, but it literally means to miss the mark. It means that you miss the mark. You live out of alignment. So if this is the meaning of the word sin, then I really question how is it possible that it evolved in Christianity like how we know sin right now. That's something completely different. And sin, because if this is the true meaning of the word sin, then sin was never meant as a moral judgment of who you are. It has nothing to do with who you are. It is a description of a state of being. And it means that you missed the mark of your true nature and you missed alignment with your soul. Being a sinner, it's not something that you are, but it is about inner awareness. In the Bible, we can read this verse in James, and it says, if anyone knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. And this is interesting, because this verse also destroys the idea of universal moral law. Sin here is ignoring inner knowing, your inner conscience, and ignoring the soul. And it is a personal thing. It's not a universal thing. What is sin for you, it's not sin for me. If you think you should do something and you don't do it, then it is sin for you. If you think you're doing something that is really bad for you and you believe that it's really bad for you, but you still do it, then it is sin for you. But maybe that same thing that you think is bad, I'm also doing that, but I don't believe it's bad for me, then it's not sin for me. Because maybe for my soul it's not that bad, but for your soul it is, because we all have a personal journey. And if you ignore your soul, then you are sinning. Then that is sin. In John, we can read this. If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. This is also very interesting, because I think we all know that from the moment you start to see or believe that something is bad for you, it is bad for you. And then you're like, why? I did this before and then it was not a problem. But now that I know, I cannot go back and just enjoying it. So when you were blind and didn't know that something was not good for you, then it was not a problem. But from the moment you start to see, now it's a problem. So it's also related to awareness, and it's about consciousness. And also, again, that is personal for you. It is personal what you see and what you feel and what you believe. It is about missing the mark while knowing better. At some point, the 7 deadly sins were created, and it's a famous list, but it's not from the Bible, and it's not from Jesus. But many people know these 7 deadly sins. They are pride, greed, lust, envy, and a few more. And also these sins, they were not meant as reasons to punish people, but they were diagnostic tools. And they described inner states that pull humans away from presence and love, clarity and connection. All these beautiful things in the Bible. You can also call this maybe when the fruit of the Spirit is blooming inside yourself. These sins where they're talking about are actually low frequency states. And in spirituality, they talk a lot about this, about frequencies. And you have the low frequencies. These sins are low frequency states. You can also call it hell. If you are in this low frequency, most of the time you feel pretty shitty. High frequency state is woo, happy, happy, joy, joy. And that is where God lives. That is heaven inside yourself. And if you're in this low frequency state, yeah, that is sin, because you are missing the mark. You know better. You know you should not do it, but you're still doing it. And I think the definition of sin is pretty simple. It just means that you are ignoring your soul. That's it. A sin is living out of alignment with your true frequency. And you always know when you're in it, because it feels bad. It feels horrible. And already the easy ones that we all know probably are like when you are doom scrolling for hours on your phone. And when you eat food that drains your energy, but you keep on eating. When you numb yourself with alcohol, cigarettes or drugs instead of just feeling your emotions. You're escaping. You are escaping yourself. You're escaping your soul. Or watching Netflix all the time. Not one episode, not two, but constantly. You keep on watching Netflix. It's not like you're failing, but these are signals. And your body, your nervous system, and your soul are saying, hey, you're not listening to me. You are not living in your full potential. And sin is not just behavior, it's an inner condition. In Romans, we can read, everything that does not come from faith is sin. This is huge. The sin is not about rules. It is about where something comes from, internally. And if you are sinning a lot, then you feel it in your body. Sin doesn't send you to hell, as the church will say, but sin feels like hell. Because when you're living out of alignment, it hurts. You feel it in your body, and this low frequency that it creates heaviness and anxiety, or feeling empty can make you feel depressive. You really feel disconnected from yourself, from source, from the people around you, from everything. And it's not because God is punishing you, but because your soul is trying to wake you up. And the message of the church became that you are born wrong, that you are born sinful, and you are born in need of correction, that you need salvation. From the moment that you are a child, you are told that your thoughts are dangerous, and your desires are dangerous. You cannot trust what your body is saying. And if you tell a child again and again that they are bad, that they are living in sin, you're creating shame at the core of identity. And shame doesn't make people holy. Shame makes people small. And you will start to look for authority outside yourself. You're going to look for permission. You're going to look for forgiveness. You're going to look for salvation. And that is where control enters. Because when you believe I am bad and God is good, but God is not accessible to me, well, then you become dependent on intermediaries like priests or doctrines, on systems, on rules. So basically, sin became the perfect tool. And not because people needed saving, but because people who feel unworthy are easy to lead. And they are easy to manipulate and easy to silence, easy to keep in line. And you can do that all in the name of God. And it's just all about control. And sin, this whole concept of sin, when it's used by institutions, then it can become a weapon. It became a weapon. But in its original form, in the hamartia, it was simply feedback. And you're not bad. You were never bad. You were just disconnected. And the point is to reconnect you. It's just your soul trying to get in touch with you. I don't believe any longer that I am a sinner, that anyone is a sinner. Nobody is a sinner in nature. It's not something that we are, but it's just our state of being. That is the sin. The sin is when you don't listen to yourself. Then you feel horrible. Then you feel like you are in hell. That's it. And you can also get out of it yourself. That is the good news. Make different choices. Start to do the things that you want to do. That's it. I want to end this episode with a verse in Romans, and it says, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And I think this is something that we all recognize, what we all struggle with. That the things that we want to do, that we think that are important, we don't do them. And all these things that we hate, and we're like, oh, we shouldn't do that, we do that. And that is sin. And it's not evil. It's just our inner conflict. Thank you for listening this episode, and I hope to see you next time. Have a nice day.